You ever stare at your life and think, this is it? That's where I was. Not miserable, not unhappy, just restless. Like I had a closet full of designer shoes, but they were all the same damn pair. My husband Mike was a good man. No, scratch that. He was a catch. Ambitious, confident, driven. The kind of guy who walks into a room and people listen. He wasn't boring or predictable, not like those clueless husbands you see in movies. No, Mike was sharp, always thinking 3 steps ahead. But he had one tiny little flaw. He tried too damn hard to be good. Moral, ethical, always making the right decisions, like life was some corporate strategy meeting. And me? I started to feel like the rebellious intern sneaking tequila into the coffee mugs. I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, let's screw up my marriage. It was more subtle, like a slow leak in a tire. First, there were the stories. My girlfriends whispering over brunch about their little adventures, spontaneous nights, dangerous men, passion with an expiration date. I'd sit there, stirring my overpriced latte, pretending to be shocked. But deep down, I was jealous. Then, there was him. It started with an app. Just for fun, I told myself. A little harmless swiping, just to see what was out there. A test drive with no intention of buying. But we all know how that story goes. Swipe, match, a spark. Jace, younger, cocky, reckless. The kind of guy who texts you something inappropriate and makes you laugh before you can even be offended. He wasn't safe, he wasn't reliable, and that's exactly why I wanted him. At first, I kept it innocent. Flirty messages, stolen moments of thrill, but lines blur quickly when you want them to. And before I knew it, I was sitting in my car at midnight, texting Mike that I was staying late at work while my pulse hammered from something far, far riskier. It was exhilarating, it was wrong, and I didn't care. I should have been nervous, I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. If anything, I felt alive. Jace had this way of making me feel like I was stepping off the edge of a rooftop, but instead of falling, I was flying. Mike? He was stability, logic, a 5-year plan neatly mapped out in an Excel sheet. Jace? He was chaos, unpredictable and thrilling. He didn't ask about my day or whether I had enough fiber in my diet. He didn't care about the responsible version of me that Mike loved. He wanted the version I had buried under date nights, grocery lists, and maybe next weekend excuses, and I gave it to him. It started small, stolen moments, teasing messages, secret grins in places they shouldn't be. Then came the first real risk. Let's meet, he texted. My stomach did a flip. I was supposed to be getting groceries. Instead, I ended up in the passenger seat of his car, parked in some dark corner of the city, fingers curling around the leather as he leaned in, just close enough. And that was it. That was the moment I crossed the line. I got better at lying. The first time was sloppy. I over-explained, gave too many details. Mike barely paid attention. He trusted me. Poor thing. The second time? Smooth as silk. Drinks with Melissa after work. But Melissa was across the country. Yoga class ran late. But I hadn't touched a yoga mat in months. Ugh, the line at the store was ridiculous. But the only thing I was shopping for was trouble. I felt invincible. Mike would sit across from me at dinner, eyes scanning something on his phone, talking about some meeting, and I'd smile sweetly, knowing that just hours ago, I had been wrapped up in something far less professional. The thrill of deception was almost as addictive as the affair itself. I wasn't just cheating on my husband. I was playing a game. And I was winning. Or so I thought. You ever play a game of poker when you're holding a killer hand and you just know you're about to take the pot? That was me. Every move, every lie. It was flawless. I had rules, and I followed them like a pro. Keep the lies simple. The more details, the easier it is to slip up. Never change routine too much. Mike had to believe everything was normal. Make it look like I was still interested in him. A well-placed kiss, a soft smile, a night where I actually listened to him talk about his work, just enough to keep him unsuspecting, and for a while, it worked beautifully, except sometimes I liked pushing my luck. There was this one night, I had just come back from seeing Jace. Hair still slightly messy, perfume just a little stronger than usual. Mike was already home, scrolling through something on his laptop, looking so focused, so serious. I leaned against the doorway, watching him, feeling this rush of power. If only he knew. "Hey," he said, barely looking up. "Where were you?" I stretched lazily, letting my shirt ride up just a little. "Melissa and I grabbed dinner. She's going through it with her boyfriend again." Mike nodded, completely buying it. Too easy. "So, just for fun," I added. "You should have seen the waiter. Gorgeous, total model type. I think she was flirting with me." Mike smirked, finally looking up. "Did you flirt back?" I grinned. "Maybe." A joke. A stupid, reckless joke. He laughed and went back to his laptop, shaking his head. He had no idea. But then, something shifted. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I felt it. Mike started watching me more closely. The casual questions became a little more pointed. The way his eyes lingered a little too long when I got home late. One night, as I curled into bed beside him, he murmured, "You've been different lately." My heart skipped a beat. I played it cool, laughing softly. "Work's been stressful." A pause. Then, "You sure that's all it is?" My breath caught for just a second, barely noticeable, but I swear he felt it. For the first time in weeks, a chill crawled up my spine, because for the first time, I wasn't sure I was the only one playing the game anymore. You know that moment in a horror movie when the main character starts hearing things? The creak of a floorboard? The faint whisper of something not quite right? That's how it felt. I wasn't caught, not even close. But there was a shift, a feeling, like I was standing on a frozen lake, and somewhere beneath me, the ice had started to crack. Mike wasn't accusing me of anything. He wasn't angry. He was observing, and I hated it. One evening, as I scrolled through my phone, checking messages from Jace, Mike casually said, "Who's that?" Not "What's so funny?" Not Melissa again? Just a flat, unreadable, "Who's that?" I felt a flicker of irritation. "Melissa," I lied smoothly, turning the phone just slightly out of his view. "She just sent me the most ridiculous meme." Mike nodded slowly. Too slowly. I held my breath, waiting for him to say something else. But he didn't. He just looked at me, like he was filing that moment away in some mental folder labeled suspicious. So I doubled down. I made sure to be extra affectionate. I cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, even suggested we take a weekend trip together, which, by the way, I totally planned around Jace's schedule. And Mike? He played along. Too well. There was this one night when I was standing at the bathroom sink, taking off my earrings, and I caught him in the mirror, just watching me from the bed. Not in the way a husband watches his wife with admiration. More like a chess player watching the board, waiting for his opponent to make the wrong move. My stomach twisted. Was I being paranoid, or was he on to me? Then came the milk incident. It was a dumb lie, a lazy one. I told Mike I was going to the store to grab some milk. It was 11:30 at night. In reality, I was meeting Jace at his place across town. By the time I got back, it was almost 2 a.m. Mike was still awake, sitting on the couch, just waiting. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at me, like a man studying a puzzle that didn't quite fit. Then, after a long pause, he murmured, "Took you a while." I laughed lightly, setting the grocery bag on the counter. "Ran into an old friend." Mike nodded slowly again. That same too slow nod. And then he smiled. Not his usual easygoing smile. This one was different. Like he knew something I didn't. Like he was letting me dig my own grave. For the first time since this game started, I felt something I hadn't felt before. A twinge of fear. Because suddenly I had the strangest, most unsettling thought. What if I wasn't the one in control anymore? Before you find out what happens next, please subscribe to the channel. You ever get that gut feeling? That tiny voice in the back of your head whispering, "Enough! It's time to stop." Yeah, I ignored it. I could feel the storm coming. The air was thick with something unspoken, like the tension right before a lightning strike. I wasn't stupid. I knew I was pushing my luck. But here's the thing about people like me. We don't quit while we're ahead. We ride the high, chase the thrill, and only stop when the universe rips the cards out of our hands and drags us away from the table. I thought I was playing smart. But really? I was just another reckless gambler, stacking my chips higher and higher, waiting for the house to take everything. And oh, did the house take everything? It started with the jokes. Mike was never the jealous type. He never hovered, never questioned where I was going. He wasn't the guy who checked my phone or kept tabs on my schedule. But now, he had this new thing. Little comments, dropped so casually I almost missed them. "Hey, I ran into Melissa today. Funny, she said she hasn't seen you in weeks. Work's been keeping you busy, huh? Strange, your boss told me you left early the other night. You've been drinking a lot of champagne lately. Didn't even know you liked it." It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. Each comment, each smirk, each too long stare, they weren't accusations. They were warnings, and I ignored every single one of them. The final mistake? My birthday. The one night I should have played it safe. But no, I had to go all in. I convinced Mike to go out of town for the weekend, told him I wanted to be alone, that birthdays made me reflective. Convincing Mike to leave was easier than I thought. Almost too easy. I knew exactly how to play it. Mike loved fishing, camping, anything that involved a tent, a lake, and pretending he was some kind of survival expert. So, a week before my birthday, I casually dropped the idea. "You know, babe, you work so hard, you should take a weekend for yourself. Go camping with the guys, have some fun." He hesitated at first, because of course he did. He was the responsible one. "I don't know, Steph. I feel bad leaving you alone on your birthday." I sighed dramatically and gave him the sweetest, most understanding smile. "It's just another day, babe. I don't even want a big deal this year. Honestly, I could use the space to relax." Then I hit him with the real bait. I had bought him a spot on an exclusive fishing trip, some high-end guided experience that had been booked up for months. I even got his buddies in on it, making sure they'd pressure him into going. Some of his buddies bought spots on this fishing trip too. Mike won't be alone, so he doesn't have to think about me. And just like that, he took the bait. The morning of my birthday, Mike packed up his gear, kissed me on the forehead, and left with his car loaded full of supplies. He even grinned at me before driving off. A slow, almost too perfect smile. The kind of smile that should have sent a chill down my spine. As soon as he was gone, the real celebration began. I had planned everything. Candles, dozens of them, flickering on every surface. Soft, luxurious music filling every room. A charcuterie board, laid out like something from a magazine. Chilled champagne, 2 glasses waiting. The moment Jace walked through the door, he whistled low, eyes scanning the setup. "Damn, babe, you did all this for me?" I smirked, handing him a glass. "You wish." He laughed, pulling me close. His hands were already wandering, his lips brushing against my neck as I leaned into him. "You sure your Boy Scout isn't coming back early?" he murmured, voice laced with amusement. I rolled my eyes. "Mike's in the woods, roasting marshmallows or whatever. Trust me, we have all night." Jace grinned, clinking his glass against mine. "Then let's make the most of it." We talked, we laughed, we drank too much champagne. The music was loud, wrapping around us in a haze of warmth and decadence. Jace had this way of making me feel like nothing else mattered, like I wasn't a wife, wasn't someone's responsible partner. I was just me. Free, reckless, unbothered. Somewhere between the third glass of champagne and the way his fingers traced slow patterns on my arm, I grabbed his hand, leading him upstairs. The bedroom door shut behind us, and outside, the music kept playing, soft, romantic, too loud, loud enough that I never heard the door downstairs unlock, loud enough that I never heard the quiet footsteps approaching, loud enough that I had no idea what was coming. Have you ever had the world rip itself out from under you in an instant? 1 second, you're at the top of the game, smirking, untouchable, queen of the board. And the next, checkmate. That's what it felt like. We were in the bedroom, the door shut, the champagne still fizzing in the glasses on the nightstand. Jace carefully tossed the clothes into the corner of the room, grinning like he owned the place. Damn, I think I like birthdays now. I smirked. Just wait, the holiday is just beginning. The music still played from the speakers downstairs, a slow, romantic melody, the kind that made the world feel soft, blurry, unreal. That's why I didn't hear it. Didn't hear the footsteps on the stairs. Didn't hear the soft creak of the bedroom door swinging open. Didn't hear the sharp inhale of someone witnessing something they were never supposed to see. But I heard the voices, loud, shocked, angry. Oh my God! What the hell is going on? And then, surprise! Everything stopped. I froze. Jace? He whipped around, eyes wide, caught mid-motion. And standing in the doorway, Mike, my mother, my father, my sister, holding a birthday cake, holding balloons, holding my entire life in their horrified faces. The next 10 seconds stretched into eternity. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Just a frozen, surreal painting of absolute catastrophe. Then, the cake slipped from my mother's hands, crashing to the floor in a splattered mess of frosting and candles. My father, red-faced, fists clenched, chest rising and falling like a bull about to charge. My sister, eyes so wide, so disgusted like she was staring at a stranger. And Mike? He was smiling, not shocked, not heartbroken, just smiling. A slow, satisfied, calculated smile. Because he had known. He had set me up. And I had walked right into it. Then everything exploded at once. My mother gasped, hands over her mouth, shaking her head like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. My father lunged forward, roaring, "Who the hell is this?" at Jace. My sister just backed away, face twisted in disgust, like she didn't want to breathe the same air as me. Jace? He scrambled for his clothes, tripping over himself, mumbling, I didn't, like a complete idiot. But Mike was calm, deadly calm, and that made it so much worse. He stepped forward, adjusting his watch, looking at me like I was an insect under a microscope. "You were always so good at lying, babe." His voice was smooth, detached. "I figured it was time you got a taste of what it feels like." My stomach dropped. He planned this. He knew. The whole time. I felt my body move before I could even think. I spun toward him, furious, shaking, clawing for control. "What the hell is wrong with you? You set me up? You brought my family into this?" Mike's expression didn't change. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said, tilting his head. "We just wanted to congratulate you, surprise you. Did you think this night was supposed to be just for you?" The worst part, the absolute worst part, nobody was on my side. Not my mother, not my father, not even my sister. They weren't looking at Mike like he was the monster. They were looking at me, like I was something rotten, like I was something disgusting. I opened my mouth, to explain, to fight back, to say something, but nothing came out. For the first time in my life, I had nothing to say. Jace, the coward, finally got his pants on and bolted. Didn't even spare me a look, just ran. Like the rat he was. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to scream at all of them. But all I could do was stand there, chest heaving, face burning, as my entire life went up in flames. And through it all, Mike just stood there, watching, smiling, like a man who had just won the best damn poker game of his life. If hell existed, I was in it. But instead of fire and brimstone, it smelled like spilled champagne and vanilla birthday cake smashed into the carpet. And instead of demons, it was my own family, glaring at me like I was the most vile creature they had ever seen. "Let's go to the living room," my mother finally said, voice tight, shaking. "We need to talk." She didn't look at me. Nobody did. But they all moved, filing out of the bedroom like a funeral procession. And me? I had no choice but to follow, like a convicted criminal walking to the stand, waiting for the judge to decide my fate. The living room was tense, thick with silence. Nobody sat next to me. My father took the armchair. My sister perched stiffly on the edge of the couch. My mother stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, lips pursed. And Mike? Mike leaned against the wall, arms folded, looking completely at ease. Then the trial began. "How long, Stephanie?" My father's voice was low, sharp. I swallowed hard. It's not like you think." "Oh, really?" my sister snapped, eyes blazing. Because from where I was standing, it looked exactly like what I think. "My God," my mother whispered, pressing her fingers to her temple. With some random man? In your own home? In your marriage bed?" I winced. That one hurt. But before I could speak, Mike finally stepped forward, voice smooth, calm, and cutting like a knife. "I wonder how many times she's done this," he mused. "How many nights I was home, completely clueless, sitting at this very table, eating dinner with my wife, while she was sneaking off to—" "Stop!" My voice cracked. My father shook his head, disgusted. "I didn't raise you like this, Stephanie." "Oh, please," I scoffed, finally snapping. "Like you're all so damn perfect?" My mother's eyes flashed. "Don't you dare try to turn this on us. You did this. You destroyed your marriage. You broke this family." I turned to Mike, desperately searching for something, anything that would make him understand. "Mike, please." "Please what?" He cut me off, tilting his head. "Please, act like this was just a mistake? A little slip-up?" His voice was mocking, like he was talking to a child who had broken a lamp and was trying to pin it on the dog. "You didn't just break my trust, Steph." His tone hardened. "You made me into a goddamn joke." I opened my mouth, to defend myself, to fight back. But before I could get a single word out, my sister laughed. A short, sharp, bitter laugh. "You know what's funny?" she said, shaking her head. "The whole time you were out there playing your little games, thinking you were the smartest one in the room, Mike was 5 steps ahead." My stomach dropped. I turned back to Mike. What does she mean?" And that's when he pulled out the folder. Thick, black, set neatly on the coffee table in front of him. "This," he said, "is everything." I stared at it, dread curling in my stomach. "Everything?" I echoed, voice barely a whisper. He smirked. "Private investigator, photos, texts, screenshots." My mouth went dry. "Oh yeah," he said, voice laced with satisfaction. "You thought you were playing me? Babe, I had the whole damn rulebook." My mother gasped, covering her mouth. My father looked like he was ready to punch a hole through the wall. And me? I couldn't breathe. Mike exhaled slowly, almost pitying. "Do you know the best part, Steph?" I swallowed hard, throat tight. "What?" His eyes gleamed. "I already filed for divorce." My world cracked open. I gripped the couch, my whole body suddenly too light, too weak. I had the papers ready weeks ago," he said. "Just needed to pick the perfect moment." Then he grinned. "And, well, I think we can all agree. Tonight was perfect." My mother burst into tears. My sister just shook her head, disgusted. My father, silent, disappointed, done. And me? I had officially lost everything. This was, without a doubt, the most humiliating day of my life. I thought I was playing some grand game, that I was untouchable, that I had control. But in the end, Mike played me. Played me like an amateur. I didn't just lose the game, I got annihilated. Now, I'm alone. The divorce was swift, clean, brutal. Mike didn't waste time. He walked away without looking back. My family? They're there, I guess. But things aren't the same. The disappointment still lingers. Conversations are short, strained. I can feel the judgment in every pause, in every forced smile. And Jace, he disappeared the second the door flew open that night. Not that it mattered. He was never supposed to stay. I did this. I set fire to my own life. And for what? A thrill? A secret? A temporary high that left me crashing down harder than I ever imagined? Yeah, I screwed up. And now, for the first time in a long time, I have to live with it. Because life has a way of teaching you lessons. And trust me, I learned mine. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a great mood and good luck.